out at Birch Bay today. The tide is way out there, but our last episode was done in the sanctuary of the cabin. And while I do find sanctuary there, the beach, the ocean has always been a sanctuary for me that way throughout my life as well. So as I introduced to you the idea of the writer with the witch and the writer, I thought this would be a great place to do that.
Absolutely.
Is that all right?
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Doing well. So before I get into the writer, which will make up part of what I'm about to ask you, would you define for us what alchemy is and what that means to you as a witch?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so alchemy has a really rich history, which we're just not going to dive into that. But to summarize it, it is taking a base and processing with different tools, medicines, to create gold, to create a choice, refinement,
okay,
if you will. Yes. Does that answer your question?
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that gives me a framework to work off of. Okay, well, that's great. So based on that framework then of alchemy, what's your own personal use with that?
You know, I have a quote that came to me years ago, that our successes and failures, and I could add the events of our lives, don't define who we are, but refine who we are. And that to me is alchemy, right? You take what we're given, what we have to work with, and allow that to refine us, to remember the truth of our eternal being, if you will.
Okay, perfect. And this is something, I've asked Julia this specifically because I knew she would have the answer to where it was that I wanted to go as far as a writer is concerned, because I have not realized my own alchemy until I've discussed that with you, with Julia, and then in writing about that. And I've been writing about that for a long time, and that's part of the reason why this is the witch and the writer in that respect, not writer, R-I-D-E-R, like the translates doing for you, but W-R-I-T-E-R as it goes.
Yes.
Well, let me start with the alchemy of writing. And I write on 3 different levels. One is the obvious level, pen in hand, or more often than not, I'm at my laptop. The second level is what I do with a camera. I certainly write there with that, and that's certainly, that is an alchemy for me as well. And then I compose as far as music is concerned. There's a definite alchemy that's going on there, as it were. And I've been writing since high school. And in the first book I published, I'm No Saint, I talk about that I write to find my own answers in a way. I write to take my thinking and put it out there, and to where I can look at my thinking, I can look at how I'm dressing what's been going on in my life, and then hopefully make some kind of change along the way. And I kind of laugh at that because I'll change and then I'll go back, and I'll change and I'll go back, and I'll de-alchemize or un-alchemize. I don't know what the word is for that, but I think you get the idea there. But what one of the first conclusions I came to, and conclusions are dangerous because they sound like they're cemented, like they're certain, and they're not. But one of the first uncertain conclusions I came to was, why just wasn't worth the effort? Why anything? Why find out what goes on? What's the answer to it? And I've had some things happen in my life where at first I really wanted to know why. I wanted to know why my son died. And I knew from a physiological standpoint and a pathological standpoint why he died after almost 9 years of working to keep him alive. But in the grander scheme of things, I wondered what the universe had to say about that. It used to be God. That doesn't work for me anymore. So it was like, okay, well, and you know what? It became easier for me not to alchemize that. It became easier for me to say, I don't need to know why. I'm okay. I'm just going to accept it for what it is, and I'm going to move on. That hasn't made grieving any easier. That hasn't made his loss any less significant in my life. Honestly, it hasn't really done a whole lot. That's why I identify here with Julia as the writer within this duo, if that makes any
sense.
Yes. sense. Yeah, there's a crazy word.
That is a crazy word. I ask it all the time. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And I think that comes to the common, like, are we reaching a common understanding here?
Right, and that's important for us to do with you, with the audience, is for us to make sense for you. Are we making sense there with things? And I'm hoping we will, as we bring our two perspectives together here.
Or three.
Jack's perspective is treats. That's Jack's perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Did you want a treat?
Yeah, but have we finished the writer?
I don't know. So here we go into the vulnerability part of that.
And this is one of the questions that somebody was like, it doesn't even seem like you two are utilizing a script. And we don't.
No, we have to be spontaneous. We have to think on our feet in order to put this out to you, because that way
some of us think on our feet.
You think think on our asses, as the case might be. Because we want this fresh and unrehearsed for you. Now, we have some concepts and some outlines, those kinds of things that we're going to borrow from. And we have certain influences as well. For me, Don Miguel Ruiz is a huge influence.
Mm-hmm.
Brene Brown, we just watched Brene Brown yesterday in a refresher on vulnerability. Those are two big influences for me. Who are yours? You've got...
Yeah. You put me on a little spy here. Brene Brown is an influence, especially when it comes to vulnerability and courage. A lot of my path is my own coming together.
Okay.
And while I've had a lot of great mentors and I've dove into a lot of books and deep studies, it has created a web for me. It's woven a pathway. Now, I've had some amazing inspiration when it comes to the shamanic practices and the art medicine. So there's that.
Yes.
So Alexis Cohen is a huge mentor for the art medicine. Pixie Lighthouse was a beautiful mentor early in my studies. Connie Solera probably introduced me to intuitive art. But I think we're creating our own way. It is our dance. Okay. And really where that goes is, while we can receive insight from all that we gather, the path is unpaved. There's not a way. Like, I'm looking at this pathway that I came through, which was really difficult in sand.
6
like I had to be
sand.
drugged. But the point being is that sometimes we are drugged across our path, like in mysterious ways. And there isn't a path. Okay. Morpheus says that if the path is there, it's not yours.
It's not your path.
It's not
Somebody
your path.
Somebody else made that.
Yeah.
So
yes.
Is it fair to say that perhaps your influences have been more intrinsic and my influences certainly have been extrinsic, because I haven't asked the hard questions. I haven't sought the hard whys, and wise, W-I-S-E, as well, like you have. Mm-hmm. I've been the guy, just doing his thing for so long, and I paid the price for so many of those furpaderps along the way that, I didn't start asking the questions until I no longer felt like, and here's the vulnerability part, like living. I didn't want to be around anymore. Mm-hmm. And that was... even after all the writing and all the teaching, and I joke with people that I've taught this stuff for decades, and yet I am still the smoking respiratory therapist. If you get the meaning there, I as much as I thought that I walked the talk, I don't. I haven't. I have at times, but. It's all a practice. It's all work.
Yes, it is all work. And we spoke about that in the last episode. And the first episode, we talked about healing and the healer. And it's not something that we're finding outside of ourselves. Yes, there is guidance and there's assistance, but the healer is ourselves. The alchemy takes place within ourselves. We are it. And the same with finding your path or answering your whys. It's not, I'm going to go out there, but I come inside here. And that's where the medicine, that's where the alchemy, that's where the magic takes place. And a woman who is attuned, just let that truck pass, a woman who's attuned to her witchiness knows this. That's the wisdom that is brought up, resurrected, risen from within.
Okay. The one thing that really attracted me to your paradigm is the idea that you are a soul recoverer. And I've used that a number of times. When people ask me, tell me about Julia, the first thing I say, well, she's a soul recoverer. And they look at me like, was she Gabriel? Was she...
She sprout wings and a halo.
Might as well.
I know, right?
Yeah, as it goes.
No.
So my point being, I have some tried and true theory to talk about: relational stages, conflict resolution, relational amelioration, those kinds of things that I have taught and researched for a couple of decades. And then Julia has the magic side of that, and I say that seriously. I say the magic side of that with respect and reverence, because I've seen it happen, and I'm seeing it happen within the two of us as we share this journey.
Yes. Yeah. So we hope that there's some inspiration and something that we offer during this series that says, oh wait, how can I find that for myself? Like, how do I awaken that? You know, one of my banners says the art of awakening.
Right.
Right? And then it's remembering, which is beautiful for me. Let's talk a little bit more about the writer, though. As we come to the close, because he's not really talking about the writer here.
What more do I say?
Well, and then people will be like wondering, how does that connect with the magic and alchemy and witchiness? And one of the practices that I really encourage my clients, the community, even someone that just like, what do you do? How do you do it? I want to do it myself. Intuitive writing, intuitive arting, intuitive moving.
And what do you mean by intuitive with that?
I just come into myself, and he's already asked if I would set sacred space sometime, and there is an entry-level sacred space setting, I guess you could say, and that we would do that. But it's coming inside of yourself first and allowing heart to hand. And when it comes to intuitive movement, it really is a movement. We have dust that settles within us, old ways, crickety bones, if you will, literally and figuratively. And to move that, it alivens, it brings up the frequency. And from there, you can go into stream of consciousness writing, where it's just heart to hand. You aren't thinking. Underthink. Right. That's one of my most favorite sayings, is underthink it. Get out of the head. And I think this is where the alchemy between us come in, is that I don't think I overthink much. I do overthink, but not all the time. And I have to remind myself to underthink on occasion, but for the most part, I'm always underthinking. And there's a freedom to that. And in that freedom, we find ourselves.
In one of our first dialogues, when our paths crossed 12 years later, you talked about this free writing. Mm-hmm. And so I turned to my journal, and with pen in hand, not on a laptop, I started to go through.
So important.
You see, I've gotten into the habit as a writer. I don't go back and edit. I edit every sentence I write. Mm-hmm. I edit in the present while I'm going through and writing. And that was a really hard habit for me to break, to get away from, and just let to trust my brain to get away from, oh, that's a good sentence, or I like the wordplay that's happening there, or we really shouldn't use an Oxford comma there, or whatever the case might be. But to just go through and alchemize, just put it out there, let it go, let it see something. To me, the alchemy is going back and reading what I wrote and going, oh, I think I understand that better.
or, what does that mean?
Right. Even more so, even deeper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and so there is no thought to it, and it doesn't matter what it looks like, and it may not even come out as words, but there's so much inside of us that is waiting to be heard that we shove down. We've been told not to listen to the body. If there's pain in the body, discomfort, if there's grief in the body, it's like we've got to numb that. What is going on? How do I hide that? How do I find the answers to that? Intuitive writing.
Yeah.
Movement. And arting. And that intuitive arting, we'll talk about that. That is a whole different.
I can see where we're going to have a number of different categories to this as we go along and do this.
But there is magic in that writing.
Yeah.
And yes.
I appreciate that. I have always discounted the writing.
And the writing longhand.
Right. Yeah. To do it without that digital intermediary. Yeah. But then I can't read it.
And that's okay too, because it just needed voice. Your heart needs voice. Your body needs voice. We need voice. There you go.
There you go.
What do you think?
Jack needs a voice too.
He needs water.
He needs water and a treat.
A treat?
What do you think?
A cat treat?
Okay. Well, I hope you got something out of this episode, and I hope we're setting this up for you to bring you back into what it is that we have to say. If I didn't think we had something of value, I wouldn't be wasting her time, and I wouldn't be wasting your time. But this is something that we both came together with a while ago and thought, if there's a reason why we're existing, this is one of them. While we are together, this is one of those reasons, because of what combined, what we can bring to you.
Yes, and to validate the witch and the writer in all of us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll see you
Thank you.
next time. If you have any questions or comments, let us know. And if you have yet to subscribe or follow, please do so. Okay.
I've been chasing these white butterflies
they're all
around.
over.
I know.